Hey, I want to thank my friends at Innisfree for their promotional products and underwriting. Their fresh squeezed hydrating green tea loaded with amino acids and antioxidants help replenish and neutralize skin for that natural glow. Want to know the best part? Their tea is organically grown and chosen for skincare from 3,301 Korean native green tea varieties. The winning 1-2-3 punch combination consists of the youth enhancing serum with black tea. Then you just dap a little bit of the eye serum underneath your eyes, and finally the enhancing cream. Oh my goodness. Like Muhammad Ali used to say, I'm pretty, I'm still pretty. They offer innovative beauty solutions for men, also powered by the finest natural ingredients responsibly sourced from Korea's pristine Jeju Island. Their proprietary extraction methods preserve the purity and potency of these wholesome ingredients from plant to bottle to your skin, offering advanced formulas that safely address all skin concerns without the use of harmful chemicals and preservatives. With the wonders of nature at the heart of Innisfree, they take care to preserve and protect the environment in all that they do. We want to thank our friends at Innisfree for their promotional products and underwriting of Light 'em Up. Hey, welcome to this episode of Light 'em Up. We take a deep dive on the criminal justice system, crime scene investigation, and leadership. We enlighten, educate, and empower others with the truth. Hey, like it or not, the truth disturbs, the truth divides, but ultimately, the truth delivers. I'm your host, Phil Rizzo. I'm the principal owner of Rizzo's Protective Group. We are a high-risk security consulting firm headquartered out of Akron, Ohio, and with offices in the Bronx, New York, and Cerro Alto, the Dominican Republic. Hey, as we put the ball on the tee to line things up for kickoff, we speak life, health, and prosperity over each and every one of you, and we want to thank you for joining us. Hey, taking the witness stand today we have the distinct honor and high privilege to have Mr. Art McCoy with us. And for more than half a century, this tough-as-nails Vietnam Army vet has been the outspoken lightning rod leader of Black on Black Crime Incorporated. Black on Black Crime Incorporated's mission is to help draw attention to the issue of crime, poverty, and violence in Greater Cleveland. Also to help make our communities safer and to provide positive alternatives for young people and assist whoever asks for help to the best of its abilities. Now on his Twitter profile, it reads, controversial radio personality and community activist with the #1 Sunday night show, Black on Black Crime, at 8 p.m. on WTAM 1100 AM. Now, I don't think Art is controversial. I think he tells it like it is. And as former U.S. President Harry S. Truman once said, I never give them hell, I just tell the truth, and they think it's hell. So, he's dedicated his life to serving the people of Cleveland, Ohio, as a civic leader and criminal justice activist, and a civil rights warrior as well, a voice for the voiceless, especially among persons of color in Cleveland. McCoy regularly speaks his mind about violence, poverty, and the lack of attention some government officials pay to the black community. He is to justice for people of color what Jim Brown was to the success of the Cleveland Browns in the 1960s. Hey, you can follow him on Facebook at the University of Common Sense. And Art says, you haven't finished school until you come to Art McCoy's University of Common Sense. Hey, for us here at Light 'em Up, he always has been and always will be the real McCoy. Hey, Art, welcome to the big show. Welcome to Light 'em Up.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, man. What a special show I'm on. Light 'em Up, the big show. Wow, I finally get a chance to be a guest on the big show, man. You've had many, many famous guests, so I'm just humbled to be on Light 'em Up, the big show. And by the way, for over 14 years, I was on Black Crime, WTAM, with Art McCoy. I was on there with great hosts, conservative hosts like Russ Limbaugh and Mike Trevesano.
Wow.
However, I am not on that station anymore. I'm on the University of Common Sense Radio, 1490 WERE, every Sunday night from 5 to 7.
Okay. And we'll put all that information for our listeners to follow up on. We'll put that all in our notes so they can tune in and be empowered by your program. We're excited to have you, Art. You know as well as me, this has been a long time in coming, so we're going to dive right in. I know your voice is a little hoarse, as you mentioned, because you were campaigning strong yesterday. Cleveland has elected a new mayor. You know, the election has come and gone, and as two men competed for the job that the political pioneer, we're talking about the late, great Carl Stokes, once had. You know, Art, Cleveland is at a crossroads, and with Mayor Jackson's fourth term in office coming to an end, what are the biggest problems we still need to immediately continue to pursue with this new administration?
Crime, and more crime, and the criminal justice system, which is a little bit more broader, but crime, and more crime are the top issues. Of course, you know that Cleveland is also, as much as we have great sports teams, the Browns, the Cavaliers, the Indians, and all that good stuff, we're still labeled in the top two poorest cities in the nation, especially in the black community. Poverty, crime, and your baby, criminal justice.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Art, what would you do to bring, like we talked about, social justice closer to the people of the city of Cleveland if you were the mayor or if you were the chief of police? What would you do to bring, you know, you mentioned crime, and more crime. What would you do to try to bring justice closer to the people of the city of Cleveland?
Here's how I want to respond to that.
Okay.
Cleveland has made a historic move. They have elected a very young black mayor, Justin Bibbs. He's the second youngest mayor to ever take reign of a city. Dennis Kucinich being the first. But he's the second youngest mayor and definitely the second youngest black mayor. And one of the things that Justin Bibbs campaigned on, which could have got him a lot of negative votes, however, it seems that it got him a lot of positive votes, was Issue 24.
Yeah.
Issue 24 was got together by a group of women, particularly black women, that was tired of that who themselves had relatives murdered by the police through the justice system. And they was tired of being sick and tired of not getting justice. So they went out and worked hard and got enough signatures to put Issue 24 on the ballot, which would be one of the first initiatives, and absolutely the first initiative in Cleveland where the voters voted. They voted that they wanted accountability in the police department.
Yes.
And not let the police department always be the last say-so. Justin Bibbs, now young elected mayor, he didn't duck and dodge that issue of criminal justice.
Right.
He said, if I'm elected mayor, and before I'm elected mayor, I do support Issue 24. Now, you know, Issue 24, anything dealing with police, they try to make it a mock. And that's what they tried to do with Issue 24, but Justin Bibbs stepped by it, as well as the sisters that was fighting to get it on the ballot. And not only did Justin Bibbs survive and win, but also Issue 24 survive and win. Hell, excuse my language, my dear brother Rizzo,
it's okay.
But that is a big step towards turning this criminal justice system around. You got a young mayor that ain't afraid to speak up for that issue, and you got some sisters that were courageous enough. As a matter of fact, these sisters, sooner or later, and I'd love for the big show to be a part of it and light them up. At some point, we're going to honor these 3 or 4 sisters as Women of the Year, because they went out and not only did they suffer from the discrepancies of criminal justice system, they went out and did something about it. And we think this young black mayor is going to do something about it also. So, I think the first thing you had to do in City Hall was get rid of some of them old folks. I'm old myself. But you had to get rid of some of them old folks with the traditional, same old ideas, go along to get along. That's the way Frank Jackson was. God bless him, 16 years in office, but he was a go along to get along, and that's why he was in office so long.
Absolutely.
So we got a young, vibrant mayor-elect in Justin Bibbs, and I think that you'll see a great change in the criminal justice system in Cleveland and might even reach all over to Akron and other parts.
Well, that's fantastic, and we have a lot of hope for the young mayor, Justin Bibb. And issue 24 that Art was talking about is the ballot initiative for a civilian police review board. And before we went on the air, I did a double check, and this initiative passed 3-2, 59% to 41, as was listed. And Art, to press and move forward, tell us, what is the city of Cleveland doing, in your professional opinion, about its young men of color being gunned down in the streets and in the neighborhoods?
Listen, first of all, and I'm going to answer that question very good for you.
Okay.
But first of all, let me say that in order to uplift young black men, you must uplift young black men that's on the move and trying to do something, like elect Mayor Justin Bibbs.
Agreed.
And if you uplift a young man like Justin Bibbs, instead of as Mayor Jackson and his cronies and all the black city councilmen in Cleveland that didn't support Justin Bibbs, they supported. I'm not being prejudiced. Forgive me, Big Show, light them up. But all the black candidates and supported the white candidate. I'm not being prejudiced.
No,
the white candidate, Brother Kevin Kelly, who was already had sit on as city council president for quite a few years, and so they was buying into the same old game, the same old politics that keep things the same. So the way I'm answering your question is, in order for you want to uplift young black men that might be committing crime or in the street doing wrong, you got to first show them something up top. So now you got a young black man up top who came through the hood, and now he's mayor. It gives those young black men who are struggling on gun violence and drugs, it gives them some hope. Okay. And that's why it's so important for this mayor, for this young black man to be uplifting. Now, you asked me about a crime in the city.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The attitude of Cleveland and the mayor of 16 years of Frank Jackson is very simple. He used the statement, "It is what it is." And it's that way because we know what the problem is, but we fail to do anything about it.
Yeah.
It was a very good slogan. It was a very good slogan, but the problem was that Frank Jackson lived up to that slogan as far as crime in the community was concerned. He knew what the problem is, but he never really did anything about it. He just made excuses. And that's what happened in many of our cities because it's happening because we have crime in Cleveland. The elected officials and the mayors, they use the same excuse that, well, it's happening in Cleveland, it's happening in Chicago, it's happening in New York, it's happening in L.A. Listen, Cleveland is a small city compared to L.A. and Chicago and New York.
True,
and further than that, there's no excuse to say that because it happened in Chicago, it's happening in Cleveland, and that's just the way it is. No. We supposed to deal with the situation in Cleveland. We supposed to deal with the situation in Akron individually, work on what we have to do to correct our city and correct our young people and have a role model for the other cities.
I agree.
And listen, Mayor Frank Jackson, listen, there was a policy started by, and you have to Google this, The Big Show, and light them up with millions of followers all over the world. You don't have to Google this.
Okay. And we got some other questions, Art, we want to get to. We want to pick your brain on some other stuff. So somewhere...
You got it. You got it.
We want to jump in.
You asked me about crime.
Right.
So in order for me to deal with the crime solution that you tell me about, I have to tell you a little bit about the history.
Okay.
George Barnabas, the mayor of Cleveland, some years ago, he came up with the George Barnabas rule. Google it, and it says he know how to control the people, and he know how to keep them from being upset and quell any disturbances. He said if there is a disturbance, like murder in the street, or like police killing, or any of those incidents, what he would do, he would call the Barnabas rule. What he would do, I'll give you an example. The 137 7 shots in Cleveland where Timothy and Melissa Russell was gunned down from gun violence. Okay, listen, the way they were able to quell that is under the Barnabas rule. Is what they would do is the Barnabas rule said that if there was an incident like this where there would never be rioting and destruction like this again, what they would do, they would call in a group of preachers, outstanding preachers, and they would call a meeting at the meeting house, and they would invite all the people that y'all come over, y'all got a complaint, y'all come over, and the preachers would be sitting up front, and all those that was up there would be sitting in the audience, and the preachers would sit there, whoever it was, and listen to the complaints of the people, and the preachers and whoever would say, well, we're going to do something about it, and they would let the people vent all they wanted to. At the end of the venting, the people went home and say they were satisfied that they were listened to, and nothing else was done. This is the Barnabas rule, and it has ruled for years and years, and that's why nothing has been done for crime, black-on-black crime, the issue of police, or anything is because of that Barnabas rule. Now, I'm sorry, go ahead on with your question.
I see, and no, that's great. Great history, great insight. Art, what would be some aspects of your comprehensive plan to address safety and violence in the city that you love so much, the city of Cleveland?
First of all,
okay.
In the city of Cleveland, and I'm sure Justin Bills is going to do it, he will, and I would change the community relations board in the city of Cleveland, make it more of what it's supposed to be, a community relations board that goes out into the community and hears the real thoughts of the community and be able to relate to them what their problems and their concerns are concerning crime and violence and what their solutions should be, and take that back to the city and come up with a viable solution for it. And finally, I've been fighting crime a long time, and in 2018, I was sucker punched in the eye by a young man, 19-year-old, in my shop for absolutely no reason.
You own a barber shop?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I've been for years.
Okay.
And it shattered my lens, it broke my nose, and there I was laying in the door of the barbershop after the sucker punch, and this young guy was really putting a hurting on me, and I had to do all I could to defend myself. I said, wow, is this going to be the end of me dying right in the door of the barbershop? And luckily there was another barber in there, and he hadn't seen it, and I was able to get up, and I looked in the mirror, my nose was broke, my eye was knocked out, and I had to rush, my wife had to rush me to the VA hospital for treatment. I caught 6 months of hell because this young man decided to, for no reason other than a $5 line, knock me out. So I've been fighting against murder and these incidents for a long time.
Sure.
But when it came time, after this incident, I realized one thing that we have to do to solve crime in our communities, whether it's in Cleveland or Akron or wherever.
Yeah.
Listen, our community is suffering from too much pain.
True.
Not just murder, but beat down, eyes knocked out, spines broken, arm broken. Our community is suffering from too much pain. In other words, young men and women and older men and women are too easy to inflict pain on one another.
Yeah, that's true.
For no reason.
True.
And so in order to get to the depth of this violence, we must bring in all kind of people like yourself and the people at the ER, black psychologists, DJs, counselors, and the teachers, and they all must come together in their own individual capacity and get to the heart of why black people will inflict pain on one another for no reason. Maybe for $5, maybe because the person said something the wrong way. And so until we get to the heart of why we as a people don't mind inflicting pain on one another, we'll never get to the heart of the problem.
No, I hear you. I agree 100%. The heart of the matter is always the matter of the heart. Share with our listeners what would be some of your fresh ideas that the city needs to explore regarding 21st century policing and more responsive, transparent government, which I do believe we'll get under Mr. Justin Bibb. I think Cleveland has hope with Mr. Bibb. But what would be some of your fresh ideas, that if you were the mayor or if you were the chief of police, that you would, share and bring to the city regarding 21st century policing and being more responsive and having a more transparent government?
Listen, this has been a thought process process for a long time. The people, like the people of Issue 24, who I know personally have worked with, we have been involved in this policing problem for a long time. And Issue 24 really addresses modern policing. In other words, in order for modern policing to take place within the police department and the administration, first of all, they have to adhere to the fact that the police department cannot police itself and must have some outside credibility. That's why they brought in. That's why they brought in the federal government.
Yeah, the DOJ.
In different. Yes, and different cities. But so until this happens, as far as policing is concerned, it'll keep going round and round a circle.
I see. Absolutely. I agree 100%. You know, share with us, Art, and you touched a little bit on it earlier, but share with us, what has 16 years under a Frank Jackson administration done to and done for the city of Cleveland?
Listen, Frank Jackson, 16 years as the mayor of Cleveland, Frank Jackson has been a great mayor for those he served.
Right.
Corporate, his entities, West Side, all of those sport complexes, all of that, he served well. And he's also been able to keep the employment of a lot of city workers during tough times. On the other hand, Frank Jackson has failed the inner city community. It's called the Tale of Two Cities. The one I just mentioned to you that Frank Jackson has been very successful with, and the other side of town, the other Tale of Two Cities, where the inner city has suffered from crime and violence and poverty and not being able to relate good with the other side for all these 16 years.
Yeah.
And Frank Jackson's legacy will be the Tale of Two Cities, one that he's brought up, and you can see on national TV and all over. And Cleveland is a fine place to live. Then you go to the other side of town, and you'll see the poorest city in the nation. You'll see murder and crime at an all-time high.
Yeah.
You will see people not trusting one another.
Yeah.
His legacy will be the Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah. To piggyback on top of what you just said, how do we collectively build a coalition between the east side and the west side of Cleveland? Like you said, the Tale of Two Cities. How do we build a coalition between the east side and then you travel over that bridge to the west side? How do we build a coalition for Cleveland to be better for the future?
The coalition was built last night in the historic election of Justin Bibb.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Justin Bibb is our savior.
No, I
and will be able to do all. But what I'm saying is this: it has been over 25 years since a mayoral candidate has been able to come in and bridge the gap between the voters of the west side and the east side. In other words, Justin Bibb didn't win the election with all black voters from the east side.
Right.
He won his election with as many votes from the west side as the east side. So that says right there that the people on the west side believe in Justin Bibb and the people on the east side believe in him. So the beginning of the gap is bridged, and hopefully it'll be able to continue from that. And because there are real good people on the west side that want to build a coalition with the people on the east side. So I think it has to start right there, and we move from there.
Absolutely. Now, Art, you love Cleveland, and you've been in Cleveland for quite some time, and you've helped Cleveland a lot. You've helped the people of Cleveland. What goes through your mind, Art, when you think of the city of Cleveland of your youth to the city of Cleveland that we have today? Even though we have hope for a brighter future, because with the new administration, I think we're going to be able to accomplish some things that we haven't been able to do in the past. But what comes to your mind when you pause and you think about the city of Cleveland of your youth as to the city of Cleveland that we face and we have today?
That's a very good question, Brother Phil. That's why you're number one on the big show. Really, you light them up. So the question is this. I'm not from Cleveland. I'm really a country boy.
Okay.
And you can tell it by the way I talk. I don't use all words correctly.
That's okay.
That's what the people love about me. But when I first came to Cleveland from North Carolina, I was a farm boy. When I first came here, when I was 9 or 10 years old, I noticed one thing, that my mother, my stepmother, because when I came to Cleveland, my mother had passed passed, and I came to live with my father in Cleveland, and stepmom, who became my mom. And I noticed one thing about Cleveland. Mom and ladies could go all through the city on 100,000 Euclid and Cedar and the window shop. There was no bars on the window, and they could just window shop with their children or by themselves and not to worry about no real black-on-black crime and nothing really that bad happening to them. As I watched the time change, I watched when stores had to get bars on their windows, which distracted some of the window shopping. I watched the OJs have to make a record. Don't call me brother or stab you in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched the morals of our inner city black people change from helping one another to become the moral value change. And through that, I watched black-on-black crime rise in the 60s and continued into the 70s. And in the early part of that time after I got out of Vietnam, I realized that if there was ever an opportunity for our community to strive, it would have to be we must rid and get rid of much of black-on-black crime as we could. And I was naive at times to think that we would really be able to do that. But as I went through life and became older, I realized that powers of be really don't want black-on-black crime to go away. Because as long as we have black-on-black crime and people are not trusting one another in our community and willing to kill one another, there's always room for the courts to make money, the judges and the lawyers to make money. So I realized that it was a lifelong fight against black-on-black crime. We've had some great successes, and at some point I thought that maybe I'd be able to get out of the business of black-on-black crime. But I saw that was not to be, and things that I saw that would happen with black-on-black crime way back then, like the education system would go down, people would stop trusting each other, the job market would leave the inner city where we used to could walk to work and move way out, so we would have to leave the city, and on and on and on. Security in the schools, in the school system, all of that, and it would make the prices in the stores in the inner city go up because of black-on-black crime. So I've watched this entity continue all these years with some success, but mainly as I look at our future today of black-on-black crime, I see all the things that I prophesied way back then is really in full bloom today. But the fight will continue, and I'm sure that people like you, Brother Bill, will continue to fight.
Sure.
And one day we will rid our cities of a lot of this black-on-black crime, and through that we will be able to live like we really want to live in harmony and peace.
Absolutely. The fight always goes on. There's never a day where we don't have to continue to work. And let's hit the clutch just a little bit, and let's talk a little bit more about Issue 24, the ballot initiative for a civilian police review board. Now, what should civilian oversight of the police look like?
What it should look like?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you what it should look like.
Okay.
Listen, it's all about real accountability. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about, Bill. Listen, when you talk about a state of Cleveland, police aren't above the law.
That's true.
Just like any other public servant, like me, a barber or a community activist. That listen, my show is called Common Sense Radio, and it's just common sense that they should lose their job if they violate our trust. So why is the police so much over your job, Bill, or my job, or a teacher's job, or a whoever's job? Why, if we do something wrong, we're held accountable, but for some reason the police aren't held accountable?
That's true. I mean, I always say for the police, they can't break the law in order to enforce the law. So I agree 100%. I mean, police accountability has to come, and it has to come yesterday. You know what I mean? Let me ask you this, Art. Would you support a mental health option to calling 911?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason I hesitated...
Yeah, that wasn't... I'm not trying to trick you or anything. I'm just thinking...
Listen, the reason I hesitated because I have to think about a question, and you gave me a part question when you said a mental health alternative rather than call 911.
Yeah.
when I say yes, forethought, I would say yes, but I need to know a little bit more about that. But I'll tell you this right now. What the voters really decided on as far as Issue 24 is the investigation process and the discipline process of police misconduct. You know, who have conducted these investigations before, Phil? The police.
Right.
So what the Issue 24 is really asking for is this misconduct be conducted by independent civilian board instead of the police department themselves. Listen, Phil, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that the police have not did a real good job of investigating or policing themselves.
Yeah.
We'll just take an example. Out of 100 cases of them policing themselves, probably 100% of them were ruled in favor of the police. Still, that's not a good policing yourself.
Yeah, no, I understand. I would agree. I would agree.
And still, if one day in your great podcast, if you could get the ladies on, because this campaign for, and I know all of them personally, I've been in the fight with them a long time with police misconduct. You know, it was led by victims of police violence. You know, and they have great support from organizations, activists, and residents throughout the city of Cleveland. So this is not no wishy-washy initiative. This is an initiative that the Safer Cleveland has been fighting for years and years and years.
Yeah,
so they know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, I saw the commercial on TV. I think Tamir Rice's mother was part of the commercial.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Through you, Art, because this is only the start of our friendship, through you, we could set up those interviews with the sisters you mentioned that established Issue 24. Absolutely. That's something for us to look forward to collaborate on in the future. Let me ask you this. Are you satisfied as we approach 9 years since the horrific shooting of Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams that such an incident can never happen again in Cleveland?
Hell no.
Okay. You want to elaborate a little bit on that, or is that good where it stands?
Listen. If it hadn't been for the Voinovich rule, which I go back to, Mayor Frank Jackson and the police chief and the safety director, their heads would have rolled. They would have been gone, because this was a complete violation of all policies of the police department, the rules and regulations in which they put in place. Listen, when Frank Jackson ran against Mayor Jane Campbell, Mayor Frank Jackson courted me because Mayor Jane Campbell had a rash of police shootings and killings during her administration. Black on black crime and the Black Man Army, we protested her very strongly, former Mayor Jane Campbell, and Mayor Jackson courted me all the way into the mayor's office, and the first meeting he had was with Art McCoy and a group of activists, and he changed the rules of engagement with the police and the citizens. And that rule was in place when the 137 shots happened.
I see.
And therefore, you asked me, would the same thing happen again? I say, hell yeah, save my voice, because it's in place to happen again.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, as we push forward, Art, what's broken in the city of Cleveland regarding the way government responds to the people? I know we have hope for Justin Bibb, but let's talk about what is broken as he comes into office in January 20th or whenever the swearing in is. What is currently broken in the city of Cleveland regarding the way the government responds to the people?
It starts with the Community Relations Board. The Community Relations Board is broken. The directors, Blaine Griffin, who is now Councilman Blaine Griffin, I love him, but he knew I called him out and told him to resign from the Community Relations Board because he wasn't really a real advocate of the Community Relations Board. He was a member of the Dividing the Relationship Board. In other words, dividing the community. He was dividing, and the same director after he left is dividing. So you got to start. The Community Relations Board is the board in which supposed to make sure that the community is relating with the administration and each other. If this Community Relations Board fails, then the rest of it fails. And by the way, Big Show. Don't get it twisted.
Okay.
As I light them up, listen, I'm not in love with no politician, including Justin Bibb.
Okay. No.
My praise for Justin Bibb is not because of the name Justin Bibb or because he's elected mayor. It's because he's a young black man.
Right.
And I uplift all young black men that want to uplift themselves, whether it's the mayor, whether it's Bill Russo, and light them up, the Big Show, whatever. It's about uplifting young black men. Too long, old men, and those in between have got their glory and left the young black man behind, so they sunk down into the deep of the city and became nothing.
No,
this is not about Justin Bibb. It's about him as a young black man. As he rises, I want you to rise, Bill Russo. As you rise, Bill Russo, I want other young men that listen to the Big Show to rise. That's what this is about. No. This ain't about no love party or no name.
No, I hear you.
It's about uplifting young black men.
I know. Hey, Art, don't pop a head gasket, okay? You're making my sound man go crazy. I feel you. Don't get me wrong. I feel your passion and I love it. But we're right here and we hear you loud and clear with everything you're saying. Now let me ask you this, Art, because this really needs some attention. Why does the city of Cleveland have a problem with women of color going missing?
We know what the problem is, but we fail to do anything about it.
Okay, I see.
When Sowell murdered all of those women on Buckeye, black on black crime, the Black Man Army, and the leadership of Judy Martin, and survivors victim of tragedy, way before Sowell, we was out there looking for these women. We said, there's too many women that's come up missing. Where are they? And the family members came to us, say, hey, my loved one is missing. What can we do? And we went out there in that area where Sowell lived, and we looked around, and we protested, and we marched and put up signs with the family saying missing women, missing loved ones. The city just didn't pay it attention because they look at black women who might not be what they consider upper class or whatever. They just write them off.
Yeah.
And so after the Sowell incident, and they formed a task force, but it was the same old damn task force. We'll form this board, we'll form this task force, and we'll look into it. And as soon as everything quieted down, the task force went away, and things remained the same. So as long as there's no real emphasis or a real entity that stay on top of these incidents, missing children.
You know, Art, what can be done to make names like Raja McQueen and Paige Coffey as high profile as Gabby Petito, women of color, as opposed to Gabby Petito, who was a Caucasian woman? How can we make those names more known? How can we get them the attention in the media that is necessary?
I'll tell you what we have to do. And as of yet, it has not been done. Listen, one thing the media knows and the bureaucrats know is that in our community, we cannot truly, absolutely sustain a movement. Only recently in movements like George Floyd and others were we able to, through Black Lives Matter, were we able to sustain a movement. But that movement was also very much incorporated with other races. It just wasn't the black race. So, but when it comes to our missing women and children, it is up to us as black men to be able to sustain a movement that will continually search, that will continually get the word out, that will continually raise hell for as long as it takes to find out what happened to our sisters.
Agreed.
Right now, Brother Rizzo, we can't get black men who is supposed to be the real protectors of our women and children to sustain a damn movement for over 3 days, for over a week. Oh my goodness, you're talking about a month. They're completely faded away. So who is responsible for protecting our women and children other than the black man?
That's a powerful and profound question. You know?
Brother Rizzo, when I go jogging in the park and there's a bunch of geese in the park and they have their baby geese and others, as small as they are, and with them only having a beak, if I run too close to that family and them baby geese, them little geese, the big geese will stick their beak out and raise their feathers and say, come on, Brother McCoy, jog over with your big self. Make my day. Yeah. I'm protecting mine.
No, I know.
And that's the way the black man has to be. I'm not talking about black women. It is the job of the black man to look out for his women and children. And when it comes to the missing, if we were looking for media, the white media, if we're looking for them to carry on the media like they did until they found both of those white folks missing, you can forget it. When we raise hell, they'll raise hell. When we show true concern, they'll show true concern. But we got to be able to sustain a movement. We're not putting everything on the man. We're putting everything on them. We must put some stuff on us.
Absolutely. Hey, victim compensation programs offset victims' financial burdens resulting from crime. Stronger together. Unite to uplift victims. If you have expenses related to a crime victimization, you may be eligible for compensation. Contact your state program for eligibility requirements. Visit, and we'll give you this address in our notes for this show, but we'll read it here. Visit ovc.ojp.gov/help-in-your-state for contact information. And as we get ready to round third base, we got a few more questions.
Wait a minute, the big show.
Yeah.
Listen, Phil Rizzo, the greatest. Listen.
Go ahead.
No.
What?
That information that you gave is so important because black on black crime and organizations in the black community have been fighting for that issue for a long time because for so long in our community, I'm not being prejudiced, I'm just trying to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
The suburbanites or the white folks got the compensation and the black folks got nothing. And you know why?
Why?
Because the way the rule was written in Columbus at first, if you got shot dead innocently and they found out that you had a little trace of marijuana in your system, you're disqualified. If you had a record from 10 years ago, you were disqualified. So consequently, most of the people victims of crime who applied for compensation in Columbus were disqualified. Only the suburbanites, mostly, and the white folks was getting it. I'm not being prejudiced, I'm just telling the truth. So therefore, what you just said was so important because they changed the rule. They changed the rule so more people can get victim of crime compensation. If you have a little marijuana in your system, they might overlook that now.
Yeah.
If you had a crime that was violated 10 years ago, they might overlook that now. For relatives that couldn't get no compensation, they can get it now. So man, you don't know it. That's what you just read made me almost want to shout because it's time for those in our community to get compensated.
I agree.
Just like others with victim of crime.
Absolutely, 100%. And you had mentioned Columbus in reference to that, and a dear friend of mine and a dear friend of the show of Light 'em Up, he's been on the show before. His name is Dr. Sandy Womack Jr. He is the superintendent of the Columbus, Ohio public school system, and he's been a long-time advocate, such as yourself, for education, civil rights, and justice, especially for individuals of color. And he wanted to ask, because he's a follower of yours and he's seen you on television over the years, he wanted to ask, what's been some of the greatest challenges that you've had to overcome throughout the trajectory of your civil rights career? Because Dr. Womack clearly states that civil rights is neither lucrative nor popular among the mainstream of people. So, Art, what have been some of the greatest challenges that you've had to overcome throughout the trajectory of your civil rights career?
And this is Dr. Womack?
Yes, Dr. Sandy Womack.
Yes, sir. Doctor, it is a pleasure to answer your questions. Listen, in this movement, if you think that activism is about being glorified and getting the honors and being on TV and all that stuff that seems so popular and famous, you're wrong.
Well, I think he knows that it's not.
The biggest challenge is that this is a thankless work. What I mean by that is that you might be disliked by all sides, including those that you're fighting against, but you also might be disliked by those that you're fighting for.
Sure.
In other words, your own people that you're fighting for and that you're willing to give your life for might be the ones that talk about you, don't trust you, think you're out for something, think you're out for show. The hardest
Go ahead.
working with your own people.
Absolutely. I was going to follow up on that. How has the struggle of your civil rights career impacted upon your family?
Well, it has impacted deeply, but I'll tell you one example quickly. My brother, he's gone now, but one time they tried to frame me for something I didn't do, and man, they was trying to give me 50 years, but God was willing, I came out of it nice and clean, and he told me, he said, brother, man, you got out of that, man, won't you just give it up, man, and just live a normal life? And I thought about what he said, and I thought hard, and I said, in the end, I said, my dear brother, I really appreciate your concern, but in a way, I didn't say this to him, but I knew that I had been ordained by God to do this work, and I could not stop. But on a brighter note, man, my family now is a great family. As an old guy like me, I have really been blessed by God. I have 3 young children, a wife that believes in the movement, and we're pressing forward. So not monetary value, but family-wise, God has blessed me, and I thank Him every day.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen. Tremendous blessings that you spoke of. Art, what's been some of your greatest victories?
My greatest victories, man, you want to take up a whole show, but I'm not into greatest victories.
Okay.
What I'm into is a motto of mine is that let your deeds be known by the people you help, and let them recognize your greatest deeds. So that's not up to me. That's up to the people that I've helped along the way, because it all might be different. So and my greatest deed is yet to come, because I don't accept awards and salutations and stuff like that, because I think it'll give me the big head, and I think I'm all of that, and I'm not. I'm just a servant of God doing the work that He ordained me to do. However, one day I hope to get a Pulitzer Peace Prize for my work with being able to unite a police department with the people, and that is a job that will require a blessing from God. But that's the only award I will accept.
Amen. Absolutely. Art, you fought for social justice for so many years. And as we wrap up our discussion here, which has been a fantastic discussion, thanks only to you, what would you tell...
You didn't tell me you was going to keep this long, but maybe it's because I talked too long. So I understand. You was telling me to shut up, but I wouldn't, because you... one thing I found out about this show is you light them up, because it's the big show, man. So you brought it out of me. But I will leave you just one little tidbit.
Okay.
In the city of Cleveland, they had such a thing as a speed light, red light camera. Man, these speed light, red light camera was given the citizens of Cleveland, Ohio, hell, including myself. Get tired of getting tickets in the mail, $150 tickets, running down Pothole Street. So anyway, Black on Black Crime and myself and others, a small entity of people, got together, and we fought against the speed light, red light camera. It was like a Davis and Goliath fight, because the city was getting like 60 million off these speed light, red light cameras.
Yeah, they make revenue.
We took them to battle, and we fought. And like Davis and Goliath, we were able to win that battle, took it to the polls. Over 99% of the voters voted against the speed light cameras in Cleveland, Ohio. And today, we don't have speed light, red light cameras in the city of Cleveland, Ohio. It wasn't because of us, it was because a small entity of people went out and fought. But it was up to the community to overwhelmingly say that we don't want these speed light, red light cameras, and they haven't came back. So power to the people. Listen. Justice comes to those who fight, Brother Rizzo.
Yes.
Not to those who cry. Justice comes to those who fight, not to those who cry.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen. Point well taken. Art, we always are grateful to you for your time, your talent, and your expertise. And I want you to know that you always will have a home on Light 'em Up. If there's ever a time...
No, I won't come back. You work me too hard, and you're too good. I won't come back.
Okay.
I won't come back. Okay. You work me too hard. You and your producer and your sound man, you work me too hard.
Well, we're patient.
I won't come back. Enjoy it while you got it. No, Bill, really, truly.
Well, it's been a blessing.
You work me hard, but I work myself hard. I really appreciate you. And Brother Phil,
yes.
I don't know how you go off with this tremendous show, but I learned something just by talking to you. and that is you are a very spiritual man.
Oh, Art.
So if you wanted to bless me and you want to pay me the millions that I deserve where you work me on Light 'em Up, the big show, I want you to, I'm going to put my hand right out to you, Brother Phil Rizzo.
Yes.
And I just feel your spirit, and I just want you to pray me off the air and the safety of me and my family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. We're now in 81 countries at last we checked, and we want to say thank you to everybody globally that's tuning in, and we want to say to our listeners domestically, we want to say ciao for now and adios from coast to coast, and we're going to honor Brother Art's request. We're going to pray out off the air, and we just want to say thank you to Art again for your time.
All right. Thank you, Brother Rizzo.
Hey, I want to thank my friends at Innisfree for their promotional products and underwriting. Their fresh squeezed hydrating green tea loaded with amino acids and antioxidants help replenish and neutralize skin for that natural glow. You want to know the best part? Their tea is organically grown and chosen for skincare from 3,301 Korean native green tea varieties. The winning 1-2-3 punch combination consists of the youth enhancing serum with black tea. Then you just dap a little bit of the eye serum underneath your eyes, and finally the enhancing cream. Oh my goodness. Like Muhammad Ali used to say, I'm pretty, I'm still pretty. They offer innovative beauty solutions for men, also powered by the finest natural ingredients responsibly sourced from Korea's pristine Jeju Island. Their proprietary extraction methods preserve the purity and potency of these wholesome ingredients from plant to bottle to your skin, offering advanced formulas that safely address all skin concerns without the use of harmful chemicals and preservatives. With the wonders of nature at the heart of Innisfree, they take care to preserve and protect the environment in all that they do. We want to thank our friends at Innisfree for their promotional products and underwriting of Light 'em Up.